Welcome to English Janova. Hello, and welcome back to English Janova. Today's story is emotional, gentle, and full of unexpected moments. It is also a wonderful way to improve your English through simple conversations, everyday vocabulary, and real life situations. As you listen, imagine every place, every conversation, and every emotion. Today's story is about a woman who walked away from true love to chase success, only to discover years later that some opportunities never come back. Let's begin. My name is Olivia. I am 30 years old and I work as an architect in Chicago. Every morning, I leave my apartment before sunrise. I drink my coffee while walking to the train station. People around me look busy. Some read books. Some check their phones. Others simply stare out of the window. Most mornings, I do the same. My life looks successful. I have a good career, a beautiful apartment, a nice salary. People often tell me, "You're lucky." I usually smile and answer, "Thank you." But deep inside, I never feel lucky. Because there is one person I still think about almost every day. His name is Noah. Years ago, Noah was my best friend. Later, he became the love of my life. We met during our last year at university. He studied photography. I studied architecture. We were completely different. I loved planning everything. He loved surprises. I worried about the future. He enjoyed the present. Somehow, those differences brought us closer. Every Friday evening, we visited the same small coffee shop near the river. He always ordered black coffee. I always ordered hot chocolate. One evening, he smiled and asked, "Do you know why I like Fridays?" I laughed. "Because you don't have classes tomorrow?" He shook his head. "No, because I get to spend them with you." I smiled without saying anything, but my heart already knew I loved him. Months passed. Our relationship became stronger. We celebrated birthdays together. We traveled on short weekend trips. We watched old movies wrapped in the same blanket. Life felt simple. Life felt safe. One afternoon, while we were walking through a park, Noah suddenly stopped. He looked nervous. He reached into his jacket pocket. Then he smiled. "Olivia." He held out a tiny silver ring. "I know we are still young. I know we don't have everything figured out. But I know one thing. I want every future memory to include you." My eyes filled with tears. I whispered, "Yes." He laughed with happiness. People around us clapped. For the first time in my life, everything felt perfect. Or so I believed. A few months later, my company offered me something unbelievable. A 2-year architecture program in London. It was my dream. The opportunity was rare. Everyone congratulated me. My parents said, "You cannot miss this chance." My boss smiled proudly. "This could change your entire career." That evening, I told Noah. He stayed quiet for a long moment. Finally, he asked, "When would you leave?" "In 2 months." He looked away. "That's a long time." I nodded. I know. For several weeks we tried to find a solution. Noah couldn't leave. His mother was sick. She needed him. His photography business had just started. Everything important in his life was here. One evening, he held my hands. What if we wait? Go for 1 year instead of two, then come back. I slowly shook my head. The program doesn't work like that. Silence filled the room. Neither of us knew what to say. Days became more difficult. Sometimes we argued. Sometimes we stayed silent. Neither felt right. One rainy afternoon, we met beside the river where we had shared so many happy memories. Noah looked tired. Olivia, if you leave, will you come back for us? His question sounded simple, but my answer wasn't. I looked at the water. Then I quietly said, I don't know. He closed his eyes. For the first time, I saw tears in them. Then maybe. He struggled to continue. Maybe you have already chosen. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. I wanted to promise everything would be okay. But I couldn't, because I wasn't sure. 2 weeks later, I boarded a plane to London. Noah came to the airport. He carried my suitcase without saying much. Before boarding, he hugged me tightly. Take care of yourself, I whispered. You too. He smiled, but it wasn't his usual smile. It looked broken. As I walked toward the gate, I looked back one last time. He was still standing there, watching me leave. I thought distance would only last 2 years. I had no idea that one goodbye could last much longer. Life in London moved quickly. The city was beautiful. The buildings inspired me. I worked long hours. I met talented people from around the world. Every day I learned something new. At first, Noah and I talked every evening. We shared photos, we laughed, we planned our future, but slowly. The calls became shorter, the messages became fewer. Sometimes one of us was too busy, sometimes both of us were too tired. One night Noah called me. Can we talk? I checked the time. It was almost midnight. I had an important meeting early the next morning. Can we talk tomorrow? I asked. He stayed silent. Then he answered quietly, of course. Tomorrow became 3 days later. When I finally called him, he sounded different, polite, calm, distant. Months passed. One evening, I forgot our anniversary. I remembered only after seeing old photos on my phone. I immediately called him. He answered after several rings. I'm so sorry, I said. I've been so busy. He replied softly. I know. Those two words hurt more than anger. As time passed, our conversations felt like conversations between strangers. We still cared, but something precious was slowly disappearing. One winter evening, while snow covered the streets of London, my phone rang again. It was Noah. His voice sounded unusually serious. Olivia, there's something important I need to tell you. I stopped walking. My heart suddenly felt heavy. What happened? He took a slow breath. Then he said, I don't think we can keep living like this anymore. I couldn't speak. The cold wind surrounded me. Cars passed behind me. People continued walking. But for me, time completely stopped. To be continued. English Genova, Part 2. For a few seconds, I couldn't say anything. I wanted to ask him to stay. I wanted to tell him that I still loved him. But the words were stuck inside my heart. Finally, I whispered, "Is this what you really want?" There was a long silence. Then Noah said, "No, Olivia, it is not what I want." But sometimes love is not only about holding someone. Sometimes love is about accepting when someone has already moved in another direction. Tears filled my eyes because I knew he was right. I had chased my dream. I had built the life I always wanted. But somewhere along the way, I lost the person who made that life meaningful. "Do you still love me?" I asked quietly. Noah didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "A part of me always will, but we cannot live only with memories." That night, we said goodbye, not with anger, not with blame, just two people who still cared about each other, but couldn't find their way back. After that call, I stayed in London. I continued my work. I became successful. My name became known in the architecture world. People respected me. People admired my achievements. But whenever I walked past a coffee shop, whenever I saw someone drinking black coffee, I remembered Noah. Years passed. 5 years later, I returned to Chicago for a new project. The city looked the same. The streets, the buildings, the river, everything felt familiar. One evening, after a long day of work, I decided to visit our old coffee shop. I didn't know why. Maybe a part of me wanted to remember the past. Maybe a part of me hoped to see him again. When I opened the door, I saw him. Noah was sitting near the window. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. He looked older, more mature, but his eyes were the same, the eyes I had known for so many years. He looked at me and smiled. "Olivia," I smiled softly. "Hi, Noah." For a few moments, neither of us spoke. Then he stood up. "How have you been?" I nodded. "Good, really good." He smiled. "I heard about your work. You became the architect you always wanted to become." I looked down. "Yes, I did." Then I asked, "And you?" He smiled. "I continued photography. I opened my own studio. I take pictures of people's happiest moments." I smiled. "That sounds like you." We sat together and talked for hours. We talked about our dreams, our mistakes, our memories. For the first time in years, the silence between us felt peaceful. Before leaving, Noah looked at me. "Do you ever regret leaving?" The question was difficult. I looked outside the window. Then I answered honestly. "I don't regret following my dream, but I regret believing that some people will always wait for us." Noah looked at me quietly. I continued. "I learned something important. Success can open many doors, but love is also an opportunity. And sometimes, if we are not careful, We lose something priceless while chasing something else. Noah smiled gently. You finally understand. I nodded. Yes, I do. We hugged one last time, not because we were going back to the past, but because we finally accepted it. Some people enter our lives to stay forever. Some people enter our lives to teach us something unforgettable. Noah was my first love, my greatest memory, and the person who taught me that life is not only about reaching the top, it is also about remembering who stood beside us while we were climbing. Today, I still work as an architect.
I still chase my dreams, but now I understand something I didn't understand before. Never sacrifice the people who truly love you for something that can never love you back, because opportunities may return. Money can be earned again. Success can be achieved again. But some moments and some people only come once. The end. Thank you for listening to English Genova. Keep learning, keep improving, and remember, the best lessons in life are often hidden inside our own stories.